live here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hotlanta, A-Town.
Dirty South.
Trade Talk podcast, Blue Collar Businesses, hosted by the Glass Guys YouTube channel. And we're here at the Super Bowl of glass events, GlassBuild, hosted by the NGA, which I think was actually, for the little bit of time that we spent there, was a really good turnout.
It really was, especially being that yesterday, the first day of the first official day of the show, was Halloween. And we had been hearing rumblings that many people were going to be staying home, maybe not even coming at all, but at the very least staying home and coming later, towards the end of the show so that they can be with their families and their kids for Halloween. I have to apologize to my family for that. Got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, I'm not apologizing because I'm sure my kids, I tried FaceTiming my daughter. She didn't want me to see what she was wearing. She was with her friends. She didn't want to be bothered, which just made me feel more comfortable. I was actually not happy, but relieved to know that she doesn't have massive amounts of anxiety because Daddy's not there. She doesn't really want me there.
Yeah,
she knows I'm going to embarrass the shit out of her.
Well, the other thing is your kids are at the age where the shit they're doing, they don't want Dad around.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
So we arrived here. It's actually Thursday, November 1st. We arrived here on Sunday.
Today's Thursday?
Is today Thursday?
It's Wednesday.
No, today's Wednesday.
Hump
Wow.
day.
So it is Wednesday, November 1st.
Yep.
We arrived here on Sunday, and we're fortunate enough to get the chance to walk the floor early, just kind of pick out and see the different places we wanted to visit. So it allowed us to streamline the event this year. But there's really no rhyme or reason to things because a lot of these booths, once they're set up, you don't realize some of the things they have. You can't just walk by and look at it and go, oh, I don't want to go there. You really got to give it a chance. We found a few things that we can utilize, which we always do.
One of the, we were specifically looking, I think, for 3 or 4 items or people that we needed to do business with. One of the things that I don't think we were looking for that we came across was that fire-rated system.
Yes.
That was something that I love the product. I really enjoyed speaking with a gentleman who, I don't know if he owns the company or he's a sales representative for the company in the U.S. Very knowledgeable, good guy. We happen to be connected on LinkedIn, which is cool. Met a lot of faces that we've never met in person, through social media. That's always fun.
That's right. We saw some cool handle selections and a new lock, which we are now looking to offer.
Oh, the electrified lock.
Yes.
Yeah. Along with a bunch of other locks, actually, from that same company. Commercial grade locks, some high-end residential locks. The handles, too. The sauna handles.
Yes.
You're probably saying, well, what makes a sauna handle different than a regular shower door handle or interior architectural glass handle? Well, I'll tell you. If you're doing saunas, like we've done in the past and learned the hard way, because an architect had spec'd a back-to-back typical shower door handle, so everything was installed. I believe this job was down towards my Key Largo Ocean Reef area.
It was. That's exactly where it was. You and I did that.
How long ago was that?
Installed it. Oh, Jesus.
10 years?
Getting older, I can't remember.
Yeah, good point. Let's call it a decade ago. We installed exactly what the architect spec'd and builder spec'd, and we got a phone call about 2 months later after they closed on the house and said that the homeowner went to go use their sauna, and after heating it up, grabbed the handle, and it was kind of very similar to the Home Alone, where he'd put the red iron on the door handle. So all the heat from the inside of the sauna was conducting in that handle and came to the outside. So when they grabbed that handle, I think they were pleasantly surprised how hot it was. So one of the handles we found yesterday was a sexy metal handle with a wooden insert. I know I have 3 jobs right now that we have bids out on that we could potentially use that handle for.
Yeah. So, side note on that, maybe we should have had the foresight to engrave or etch the handle. That way, when they grabbed it,
they're branded Yellowstone. They're part of the MAG crew, and once in, you can never leave.
One thing I did learn about these sauna handles, which I didn't even think about, if there's a tremendous amount of steam in there, it needs to be a certain type of wood, because when you get steam in the wood, it's going to expand and contract and eventually start to deteriorate. Yes.
I didn't think of that.
I never would have thought of that.
So what type of wood is it?
I don't know exactly what it was.
Cedar or, yeah.
It's the type that doesn't expand and contract.
Yeah, okay. Duly noted. Touche. Who else did we meet? We met up with, of course, all the usual suspects from NGA, Andrew, Max, Melanie, Sarah, Katie.
We get to meet Max's daughter this year.
Max's daughter, who was I don't know if she's helping out or if Max says we need to help you out, and that's kind of his way of pulling her into the industry, which I think if she has any interest in should. I mean, it's done well for us.
And then you had a speaking engagement.
That was really cool.
Which maybe someone there deserves a shout out, a little bit of thanks.
Who?
A certain person who helped you prior to speaking.
Oh, Jason?
No.
Oh, prior to
Local.
speaking. Oh!
A local shower door man.
Yeah. Big shout out to Brad Lee.
Of the shower door guy.
Shower door guys out of Atlanta. We were getting ready to go on stage, and before I went on stage, I had to go over to the sound booth where they give you a microphone, and they wanted me to put it under my shirt. So naturally, I went behind the booth. I, unzipped my pants, undid my shirt, kind of fed the cord up through, and while doing that, hastily, I needed to get going to the stage. I tucked my shirt in, buttoned up my pants, and started going over there. And on my way, I recognized somebody that obviously we know through social media in our shoulder group. And he goes, "Hey, I'm sure this is going to sound creepy." And I said, "Oh, God, what?" And he goes, "Before you go up on stage, you might want to consider zipping up your fly." And so I am forever grateful, Mr. Bradley, that you were staring at that section of my anatomy in order to alleviate all the embarrassment that would have been had for the next 45 minutes. So I owe you one, big time. Thank you. And thank you for reminding me of that. That was funny.
It was.
That's typical for me.
It would have been a very interesting speech had he not pointed that out.
It could have been a blessing in disguise. We've talked about this before. Some of the most embarrassing, trying times in our life can end up being the best. Maybe that's what we needed to take, the subscribers or videos to the next level.
We're going to leave your speech with a dangling participle.
The train's leaving the station.
So that was really good. I mean, what an honor, right, to be asked by
Humbling.
the NGA to speak in one of their forums.
What's funny is the social media is what's highlighted you and I throughout this industry and locally for us with all the people that we do business with. But it just goes to show you to the power of the social media, because for 20 years being in glass business, nobody's really recognized the things that we do because we're in different parts of the world and there's really no way to showcase that. But when the social media came about, we're able to showcase all the work and highlight the industry as a whole.
Yep.
And I think that's what triggered them to seek us out to even have that opportunity. So that's just yet again another example of why the social media is so critical for the growth of anybody's business in today's day and age. Because you just don't know what the Voss saying is, never be so sure of what you want you're not willing to take something better. The social media allows you to find out what those better things are. I mean, I would have never thought to be speaking at an executive forum at the NGA surrounding recruitment or HR or culture.
HR for sure.
Yeah, definitely me for HR. I will say in that 45 minutes up there, I did not swear one time.
Yes, you did.
I did?
Yeah, you said ass kicker.
Oh, yeah, but...
I mean, that's a TV swear, but...
Yeah, that's not one of the George Carlin, is it? Like the 7 dirty words?
Don't know.
Yeah, the F, C.
What are they?
Yeah.
The amount of people that have come up to us and asked for photos and I love your stuff and you're an inspiration.
That's wild when someone says that.
It really felt good. And then when we were speaking with Nancy in the Moppi booth out of Italy, she said, you wouldn't believe the amount of people in Europe that are watching your content, which...
That's worldwide.
It blew me away.
Yeah. Glass industry as a whole, like any other sector, is a small world. But it's even smaller when you're willing to put yourself out there on social media, because there's a lot of people that are curious about how people do their business and how they conduct themselves and what type of business they do. And maybe they learn from it or they watch it. But when she said, her and her husband, Hermano, saying they do glass shows all over Europe and they hear it all the time.
Yeah.
That was really eye-opening. For me, when I hear that, all I want to do is double down.
Yeah.
I want it even more. It's
good for the industry. A lot of people do things like this for vanity, for themselves, for selfish reasons.
By the way, I love the vanity aspect of it. I don't want to lie about that.
Oh, I never took you for a self-absorbed person. Never once.
I do love it.
However, again, I do it for the brand.
I believe you. I do believe you.
But the thing is that that's how everyone should be doing it. Is you're getting your face and your name out there, but you're getting the brand out there. And so now we've had a few opportunities recently. We've talked about this before, where the first thing people think of is they say, "Oh, my architectural glass, they can help you." That's all it takes is just a little bit of exposure. You look like you're thinking about something.
Yeah, still thinking.
Don't try too hard. I know there's a lot of space in there.
I'm always impressed by some of the machinery that comes. I mean, all the machinery, not just some of it, but all of it, and in particular, how quick they have to get it up and running. I mean, I think they only have 4 or 5 days prior to the show because there's a litany of conferences coming in these places.
Right.
So they have a small window, and you're talking multi-million-dollar machinery that's operational. You know, a lot of these robotic arms, cutting arms. Forvet's always got an unbelievable booth. It's actually overwhelming, that whole IG line.
You know, that brings up a good point. They only have a few days to set up. One of the things you and I were talking about is we couldn't believe the amount of procrastination it seemed to be as we were walking through during setup. There were a few booths that really stood out to us that they were done. And it wasn't like they were just, putting up a skyline backdrop and, a couple pamphlets. They had full displays and they were done and clean and ready to go. And everyone else was still just unloading crates.
When you walk through these shows, and probably any trade show for that matter, but this one in particular, because this is the one we attend, there's certain booths, many booths, that stand out above and beyond all the other booths. You can see there's been time put into it. You can also tell they've done this before. And that's what you see during the show. We had the fortunate pleasure of being there before the show and walking around. And those same booths that stand out above and beyond also stand out in the prep before because they're done early, they're organized. You can tell they've already got pre-done shipping containers, not containers, but wood crates labeled. Like you can tell these booths are like Legos. They go together, they come apart, they're in, they're out, they're militant. And then when the show starts, all the staff is wearing the same uniform, the carpet's vacuumed, everything's in its right spot, and they're professional, they're ready to do business. I mean, everybody there's professionals.
Right.
But you can see the ones that really separate themselves, and that really starts even before the show, and then it carries, through the show. How they're attacking their lunches, how they're greeting their customers, the swag that they're giving out. It's impressive. It stands out to me, especially going through the day before. FHC was one of those. They were there early. I mean, they had an army of guys. Actually, it wasn't a ton of guys, but you could just tell they all knew what their job was. And it was moving quick, fast, organized, and they were done, ready to go, I think like 2 days early.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching that part. And we've done many home shows over the years, setting up.
Oh, man, those days.
Yeah, I don't necessarily miss that. Although I do say, as much as I complain about it, I enjoy working those shows just to have the opportunity to speak to so many different people.
Yeah, it's the camaraderie of it.
Yeah, and the interactions, the kind of tug and pull with everybody.
We think now we're fortunate enough to be able to do that without having to do all the work that goes along with it.
100%.
The manual work, anyways.
Yeah, Father Time's undefeated, and our backs aren't what they used to be. Not that we can't still hang with anybody, just saying. The back is just not what it used to be.
Another thing that seemed pretty impressive to me is we heard it from a few different people. Last year's show had a speaker who then returned this year, Mr. Connor Lokar, talking about the economics and the state of construction in the glass business in particular moving forward. And we had a few people tell us that they actually saved his slides and things from last year, and he's been spot on.
Yeah, sharp individual, very articulate, draws a lot of data from all over, I think. Home Builders Association, stock market, banking sector. I mean, this guy's a high-level individual, so we were able to see him on the main stage for a little bit. A lot of good information. I also did hear from a lot of people, one of the questions I was asked a lot was, how is the temperature of business down in Southwest Florida? And the way they said it, you can almost feel like they feel like maybe there's a little lull where they're at, almost like slowing down.
Yeah, it seemed like they were expecting to hear the same thing that they're dealing with. Fortunately, that's not the case yet.
Why? Do you think, just in particular the area that we live in, do you think if the whole country's going into a recession that Southwest Florida, because of the demographics, is one of the last areas to be affected? Or do you think we're not being as affected as much as some of the other subcontractors across the country? I know I keep playing this, but because of the way we advertise?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I know we went through the recession in '08 and stayed strong through that while a lot of people fell to the wayside. So to say maybe we're insulated in the area we live in because of the demographic there's probably a little truth to that. However, there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that are involved to keep afloat when you go through a recession or an economic downturn like many people are seeing us experience and hopefully starts to make that turn around soon. So there's a lot of factors, but you're absolutely right. I think being out there, you never want to be the bottom guy no matter what, right? So if you're staying on top and you're getting out in front of it, it just makes you that much better when you come across things like this.
Well, this type of branding, there's some immediate impact. You can receive jobs or opportunities off of one post,
Yes.
But I think as a whole, it's more of a long play. Like this, it's like advertising on radio. This is it's constant. Water beats the rock, drip, 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 every day in hopes to really ingrain whatever it is that we do in people's brain. That way, if the word glass comes up, we hope we're one of the first people they think of.
Yeah, basically we just want them to look at us and want to either shake our hand or tell us to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. We haven't had a lot of the latter, that's for sure. Which, by the way, reminds me, we might want to, I saw that there's a couple more mean tweets on some of the different pages, so we might want to get that on film today. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on this self-deprecating humor that we've been putting out.
It's fun.
I actually enjoy doing that. I laugh pretty hard at that stuff. If you can't, if you are offended to the point where you want to quit because somebody leaves you a mean comment, I'm here to tell you, don't do that. You should almost feel sorry for somebody that does that, because where time is such an important commodity for all of us because it's limited, if somebody's willing to take time out of their day to stop, interact on your social media post, and then stay even further to leave a nasty comment, just think about the amount of pressure or stress that this individual must be going through to, again, take time out of their day to spew hate on your page.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad. I think a lot of us have been guilty of it for one reason or another in the past, but I have no problem laughing at myself, and I will not allow a hater, which we welcome, to hinder us from doing what we do, because we've seen the benefits of it. I mean, we've seen it.
Speaking of people that have time for negative things,
Oh.
we heard an interesting story from an individual, I'm not going to name, of how they were in a dark place and actually made this recovery and now just doing tremendous and at the top of the industry and working with some of the one percenters.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really an inspirational story to hear how they clawed back from that and are able to just come out and talk about it and with no shame, because it's part of their life and that's how they grew.
Okay, so there was a lot to unpack of that. The fact that we've never met this individual in person, not one time.
Right.
And in a 5-minute conversation, for him to open up about his past and how he's got to where he's at because of the struggles, addictions, massive addictions, that was really eye-opening to me. That just showed me the power, again, of the social media, how it's almost built innocuous relationship before we even met. I mean, he felt so comfortable to be able to divulge all that information to us. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
That was eye-opening.
Yeah. I mean, that's dirty laundry. You're not just going up and telling that to a stranger.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's really no benefit for him to do. Most people would say, I'm not going to do that because then I'm going to be looked down upon. I think we both have the utmost respect for this individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, not maybe because we can relate, but I think everybody likes to watch a story of an underdog clawing their way back up to the top, and that's what this person's done. And I'm proud of him. I wish him nothing but success.
Yeah, and keep on that path.
Yes, 100%. And I think he's going to be coming over to visit us, too, over on the west coast of Florida, so that's good.
We had a little experience on Monday night.
Monday night was awesome. I haven't been to too many basketball games in my life.
Another benefit of being a follower.
Yes. One of our social media followers I reached out to before we came to the Glass Show and asked Mr. Grayson Huber, a financial wealth advisor for Truist Bank, who's an awesome individual, amazing husband, father of 2, father of 3, baseball player, just all-around good individual. We called, asked, hey, any way that you could score a couple tickets at the Hawks game while we're in Atlanta? And he says, let me see what we can do. Called me back and said, what if I get you 10 tickets? And by the way, it's in a suite. That was unbelievable. And we met some other individuals from the banking industry in there as well. But it gave us a lot of credibility with the people that we were hanging out with.
That's right.
They didn't have any idea where we were sitting. And as we were kind of getting closer and closer, it didn't look like the normal seating arrangements that we would be used to.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Good experience.
It was. And thank you, Grayson.
Yeah. Amazing game, too.
And we did offer some of those tickets up to a few of our followers.
Yep.
That
Strengthen
like I said,
those relationships.
Yeah, and it's good to meet people in person.
Of course. And everybody was extremely grateful. I've gotten a lot of very nice texts afterwards. I think it's only going to strengthen our relationships moving forward. One thing that I noticed during the basketball game that I was not aware of, and maybe you're not either, but in today's NBA, there is music playing during the entire game. And I don't mean like when the whistle blows, then the music pipes up. The music plays the whole time, which I found really odd. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I wasn't a fan of all the music. Because I'm a competitor and like to push the line on competing, I feel like by having a DJ during the game, I almost feel like he can affect the game because he knows when his team has the ball, might be able to play a song that really invokes more energy or adrenaline. And conversely, if the other team was about to shoot the ball, maybe he could stop the music or skirt. You know, I just feel like there's an area to use the music as an advantage.
You could be right. I also feel like there are probably guidelines for that as well, that the NBA will not allow you to do.
I would assume there is, but I was listening to the music, so it wasn't like there was times when he stopped, he was making transitions. It was obvious, you could hear it.
Yeah.
In the middle of play. And maybe there is guidelines. I'd be interested to know if there is guidelines, and if so, who's regulating those guidelines? So is somebody listening to the music the whole time? Is that another thing the referees have to, take into the account?
Yeah, I doubt that the referees are.
I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but imagine you're going, you're boom, 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 you find your place at a 3-point, and now in your head you're taking in the music, so you're going, you get the ball, and then boom, it stops right before you shoot. Again, if you're focused and you're in the zone, you're probably not even paying attention to that, but there's a possibility.
Well, there's a lot of things you have to zone out of your mind as a player, right? I mean, guys are at the free throw line, and there's a 300-pound man doing the truffle shuffle behind the basket. There's a lot of distraction. So as an elite athlete and a professional, those are things that you have to get in a certain mindset and focus.
You have to. Well, that's like anything. If you want to do it at a high level, you have to block out the noise. Even in our business, we're drilling holes into massively expensive material.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you could second guess yourself or be distracted because there's a customer in the bathroom or there's other tradesmen in there, or you got in an argument with the old lady before you went to work. There's a million things that could cause you to be distracted. So no matter what you do, basketball, glass sales, content, if you want to do it at a high level, you have to kind of zone out the noise and focus. Again, all that being said, if there's an opportunity to disrupt that focus by the other team, the competitor, I think that's an area in which it could be done. I would see Bill Belichick the type of person to say, okay, we're using music now. How can I use music as a tool to invoke some type of negative emotion on the other team or get a competitive advantage? Like Ed Reed.
It sounds like you think Bill Belichick cheats.
Not at all. I think Bill Belichick uses the rules to his advantage, and he's been known for that many times. Now, maybe it's pushing close to the line of you considering a cheater, not a cheater. Let me ask you this. And all the years that you've gone and done installing, has anyone ever given you a cash tip after you were done?
Yes.
Okay. Did you report that cash?
Wait.
No, it's on tape.
This is prior to the $600 IRS rule. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Did
So let's
you
go.
think about reporting that on your taxes?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, so you see where I'm going with this.
Yes.
There's a little gray area here
Absolutely.
on whether, what's the difference between gamesmanship and cheating? And so there's a real fine line.
Speaking of focusing, those athletes really had to focus even more. So we had the fortune of not only going to the game and sitting in a suite and being there, but what a game it was.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you and I are obviously, we're not Hawks fans, we're Celtics fans.
Larry Bird.
However, in the third quarter, Atlanta was down 21 points and just went on a run. And they were focused, the eyes on the prize.
Defense and offense.
Came back and won by, I believe it was 17.
That's unbelievable. So in 2 quarters of basketball, to be down is like, there's a lot of teams that don't score 21 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
They came back and went on a run and never gave up. The game is played for 4 quarters, so no matter how far they were down, they did not mail it in, and that was a very good example of overcoming adversity.
Right.
And especially in a team environment, they stuck together. That was fun to watch. That was really fun to watch.
How about that fucking T-shirt cannon?
That was unbelievable. You know, the in-game kind of shows and things. There's so much to watch. So you have basketball, but then there's all these other things happening. You're in the suite. There's food. There's great camaraderie. Then there's the cheerleaders, of course, and then there's the mascot. There was a guy balancing stuff on his chin. I think he had a ladder on his chin.
Yeah, which how you start doing that?
Yeah, what makes you think I want to balance a 100-pound ladder on my chin while I'm standing on top of a ladder on one foot?
Yeah,
and then those air cannons.
Well,
they've really made massive advancements to these things.
So a lot of you are probably sitting there going, yeah, well, okay, we see that at every game you go to. No, not this thing. They had
it looked like a
this
Gatling
thing
gun.
rolled out. That's exactly what it was. It rolled out on wheels, and there was probably 15 rounds in it. And it just went doo 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 doo.
That was unbelievable.
That was cool.
I also noticed the architecture, or what I don't know if you call it, the design of the. When we were standing up in the suite, as you looked all around, everything was painted black. I mean, it was like blacked out.
Yeah.
This was early before the game, so the stadium wasn't filled with people yet, but it was very dark all the way around. And the way they had the court lit up, it was very captivating to the eye. Like, you couldn't help but, no matter where you looked in the stadium, your eyes went to the court.
Right.
So there was a lot of thought that went into the design and construction, which was massive, which, by the way, is right across the street from the
Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the Atlanta Falcons play.
Which we had the chance to tour
2 years
last time
ago.
we were here, and that's an amazing structure as well.
The amount of money that goes into some of these stadiums, especially like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the amount of money that goes into that infrastructure to really only play 8 games a year at home is staggering. It's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
How that can be financially sound. I mean, I know there's other things that are going on in there, but the football's obviously the biggest draw for 8 games.
Yeah.
There's not a stadium these days that are being built that's under $1 billion for 8 games.
8 games if you don't make. Well, actually, it's technically 10 games, and it could be.
Oh, because of preseason.
Could be 9 regular season games because every other year they play.
It's not like baseball where there's 80 games
You're right,
at home,
you're right.
and all the concessions and parking that goes along with that.
How about our Uber driver? We were in the Uber, and one of the gentlemen that was driving us had some field passes on his dash. So I asked him about them, and he's one of the guys that if you run out on the field, you're getting your ass kicked by him.
That's right.
Big guy too. And he was telling us how his partner, who works the other side of the field, he usually gets all the people that jump on the field.
Because the area where it's in, it's the one spot of the field where it's easier if you were going to jump out and run on the field, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, but let's say you did.
Yeah.
You would do it in this spot. And so there's people that are hired basically to just stand the perimeter and wait for people to jump down and tackle.
So he told us his coworker recently just juiced someone when he jumped on, and it was all over the news, and I think he even said he might have made SportsCenter.
I could tell by the way he was telling the story that he is anxiously awaiting for that to happen on his side. Like he's ready.
What I didn't know about this though, when you see this all the time, you see the guys out there, and a lot of times some of these fans are fucking fast, but they usually end up getting tackled. And I didn't realize that these guys, when they do something and they make a big play like that, they're actually getting a bonus.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ownership or somebody at a high level in the front office with that organization is grateful that they're willing to put themselves out there and protect the players and the brand and make sure that the game's not being disrupted for all the customers.
Right.
I could argue during that time frame that that's one of the better attractions for me to watch if that's happening. If I'm at a game and, remember, fan stands for fanatic. People lose their mind when they go to these games, some of them. And so when they jump out there and start running around and some of the security guards chase them and just absolutely blast these people, I get a chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Fun little sideshow.
What about the scooters? I almost bit it hard.
All the big cities have these Lime scooters you can rent, and we're big kids in a big city, so...
We're not used to having these. You don't see scooters hanging around in Naples or Fort Myers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's so easy. You go up, you got your phone, you download the app, you scan a barcode, and they're kind of scattered throughout the city. You jump on it, and it charges you based on either how long or how many the distance you traveled on this thing.
Yeah.
And they're not, how shall I say, they're fast. They're really fast. I mean, you know, I was blowing by you all day.
Were you?
Yeah.
Were you though?
Yeah. I mean, you could see in most of the videos that I was taking, you were behind me.
We're here trying to build trust with these people, and you're lying.
Check the tape.
Blatantly lying.
Check the tape.
Well, I saw the tape that you posted. These scooters are not meant to be filming content while you're riding on them, so.
Well, you know what I realized is because the handlebars are strictly onto a pole down to the front wheel. So like any deviation in that is going to throw you off, especially when you're moving as fast as I was. So doing a selfie video while holding these scooters, it's just not a good idea. Now I will say, I almost bit it. I didn't bite it, but I almost did. And when we were going down towards Centennial Park, a massive hill, another thing we're not used to in Florida. I mean, big hill. And I felt like Steve McQueen I had to be going 50 miles an hour down this thing.
So dead?
Yeah. What did you think about being in Centennial Park with that Phil Knight story with
That
Nike?
was cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
You know, why don't you tell them what that was? So you got the podium in the middle.
Yeah, so in the center of Centennial Park, there are the 3 podiums that the Olympians, when the Summer Olympics were here in 1996.
96, that's the year I graduated high school, by
which
the way.
was the Centennial Olympics, because the originals were in 1896 in Athens.
I did not know that. That's why they call that Centennial Park.
Yes.
So they built that park for the games.
Correct.
To host the medal ceremonies there.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that was the 100 years of the Olympics. That's cool.
So while that was being done, many of you probably remember Michael Johnson, the American sprinter who was just amazing. He was known for his gold Nikes, right? Reebok was the sole sponsor of the Olympics. The IOC got paid a sum, I think it was like $50 million, if I'm not mistaken, for Reebok to be the sole sponsor of the Olympics. Well, Nike didn't like that too much. So Phil Knight, being the entrepreneur that he is,
smart guy,
scouted out the area and bought every billboard in the Atlanta area that was available, put the Nike swoosh on it. So most of these were near the venues. So now when you'd see the footage pulling away for the blimp or whatever was being taken, you're seeing that Nike swoosh.
Subliminally.
Yeah, but one of the most special things he did, and they called this an ambush marketing campaign.
I love that.
He purchased a 3-story garage, which is right in the line of sight where these 3 podiums were. He purchased that garage and he put the Nike swoosh up on it. So that way when they're presenting the medals, you're seeing the Nike swoosh.
Yeah, so
in the
just
background.
think about, I don't know how many events there are in the Olympics, do you? In the Summer Olympics?
A lot.
There's a lot of events. So every single event is going to have a medal ceremony. And so they stand on the podium, you know, gold, silver, bronze.
Now, to be fair, some of them were within their arenas.
But most of them were in Centennial Park.
Absolutely.
And Reebok had bought the sponsorship to the medal ceremony presentation. So every time they were putting a medal on someone, across the bottom of the screen, it would say sponsored by Reebok, and they paid big money for this. And Phil Knight and the team at Reebok or Nike identified where they were going to be taking the shot and found that 3-story garage in the background and plastered the outside of that building with just a big Nike swoosh. No verbiage, no nothing. So every time that medal ceremony shot was being done with Reebok that paid millions of dollars across the bottom, you couldn't help but see the Nike swoosh in the background, which I just think, again, that's a competitive advantage. That's somebody that was thinking way outside the box. So much so that the Olympic Committee couldn't do anything about it because they didn't know. Reebok didn't think, well, we're gonna pay to have this, but we want to make sure we're the only company involved with a medal sponsorship or award ceremony. And here's Phil Knight, pioneer, in the background with that Nike swoosh.
And I believe it actually forced the IOC to change the way advertising was handled.
They changed the rules.
Yeah.
It's almost
like a Bill Belichick situation, right?
100%. I even think Nike handed out all the, like, maybe American flags, but on the backside of the flag was a swoosh, or some type of flag that had a swoosh on it.
It was
Olympic.
it was just a flag with a swoosh. You never want to put something on the backside of the American flag.
Yeah.
But
it was like a little flag that maybe had the Olympic rings on one side and a swoosh on the other. And so everybody in the stadium's waving these around. Again, so when the camera gets it, you're seeing Nike everywhere.
We're talking about this, putting the swoosh up everywhere. I think another part of that is everybody knows what the swoosh is.
That's brand.
I mean, it didn't have to say Nike. Everyone knew what it was.
Yeah, and you know what they stand for.
it's basically what we're trying to do here. You're getting your brand out there, brand awareness. So that was pretty cool to see that.
I would like to use Phil Knight's playbook on that ambush marketing to help generate more subscribers for our YouTube channel. And I'm constantly trying to think how we can position ourselves in a manner to kind of catch lightning in a bottle like he did. With really little to no effort other than, scheming. So when I hear or see stories like that, it's inspiring to me. As some people say, that's fucked up, you shouldn't do that. I love that. I love that.
Speaking of fucked up things, there's something else that happened in that park.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually the focus of a movie many of you may have watched called Jewel.
Yeah, Richard Jewell.
Yeah, so there was actually a bombing in that park during these Olympics.
Yeah.
Richard Jewell was a security guard who got wrongfully accused of planting this bomb and had to go through a lot of things. It's a movie you should watch, but it was an interesting scenario of how they were trying to almost pin it on this guy.
Did he end up getting exonerated?
I believe so.
Yeah. I watched the movie. It was a really good movie. That in 1996, to have I think when people were going to the Olympics there, security isn't like is now at some of these events because of things like this.
Well, this was pre 9/11 as well.
This is pre 9/11, so it's not even a thought probably on most Americans' minds or anybody's minds, regardless, in America for something like that to happen. And I think Richard Jewell was kind of somebody who wanted to be a cop. It was in his blood. You could tell he wanted to be a public servant. That's what he wanted to do.
He's a little odd himself.
Of course.
Kind of a mama's basement dweller. But.
Yeah. That said, he was dialed in and came across this package or backpack. I don't remember why they tried to pin it on him. Is because maybe they couldn't find anybody else, or because he was such an odd duck, they just assumed that he had to have done it?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched that movie. But
nevertheless, that happened in Centennial Park where we were at yesterday as well.
Now, one thing I remember from the movie, there was a performance going on at that time, and one of the people performing is someone that I grew up with his music, and that would be Mr. Kenny Rogers.
Oh.
So we talked about being out and about on the scooters, and so you and I went one day and we had an area that we wanted to head to, not realizing we had to go through some undesirable parts of the city.
Yeah.
But we made it out alive. And we happened to be driving by this cemetery, and I look over.
I don't know how you saw that.
It was just a stroke of luck.
It was meant to be for you to see that.
And there's this massive monument
in the cemetery.
With a tomb beneath it. I mean, it looks like there's a casket there. It's a granite casket.
Yeah.
It said Kenny Rogers, and that was his burial site.
That's unbelievable. I had no idea.
I didn't either.
A, he was from Atlanta or buried here, but two, still, when we were driving by the cemetery, there was a 5-foot, 6-foot wall, only because we were on the scooters.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the window for you to be able to see that out of the corner of your eye couldn't have been for more than a second or two, especially at the speed we were going. So your situational awareness at that moment was off the Richter scale. I do have to give you credit for that.
Dialed in.
Yeah, you were dialed in for show. We went out to dinner last night with Bryce and Max. We're meeting with a software company to add some more equipment to the factory.
Yep.
And that vendor offered to take us out to a very nice dinner, which we were appreciative of. But it was really good company. And matter of fact, I believe the director of operations and his wife are from Massachusetts.
That's
where
correct.
We're originally from. So we kind of, had that common ground aspect. Not that that's extremely important, but it was nice.
Yeah, we could talk masshole.
Yeah. There's another fellow masshole. So, of course, we talk about the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Big Dig, anything and everything that has to do with Boston.
Yep, that was good.
So that was nice. We're heading back to Naples today. The weather was beautiful when we first got here, and then it felt like Massachusetts.
It still does right now. Last night was a low of 31.
That is, for all of you who don't live in Florida or warm weather climate on a regular basis, when you go from 80 degrees, which it was on Tuesday morning, to late Tuesday night being 32 degrees, that is a massive swing in temperature. When we were walking from hotel to hotel last night, I wanted to die. It was that cold.
Yeah, it was.
It was going right through me. I had to chill in my body all night.
Yeah, and before you judge us, when you move to a warm climate like that, I don't care what anyone says, your blood thins out, and it thins out quick.
Quick. I knew we were in trouble because when it got down to 50, I started to get to chill. And so it's like, this isn't going to be good. Plus, I didn't bring enough clothes I didn't know that was going to happen. Just kind of came in.
Well, that was you not being aware.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mimsy. Ms. Donna D for the Schwag, the Trade Talk podcast, and Kristen. Normally, Bill, Donna, and some of the other high-level individuals would be here, but they're off at the Inc. 5000.
That's right.
Inc.
Yes.
5000.
We were fortunate enough to be honored again by Inc. magazine.
Yep.
What number is this?
Oh, man. I think it's like 9 or 10 in a row, which, by the way, they considered the Patriots a dynasty after how many Super Bowls?
3?
3. And they ended up with what, 5 under Brady?
6.
6. So we have 9 in a row, Inc. 5000. So
I believe there's a year missed in there.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay, well, there's more than 3 in a row, that's for sure.
It's remarkable nonetheless.
Yeah, so I think that puts us in the category of a dynasty.
Yeah.
Just based on who else has the title dynasty.
You know, before we get too far off on that, I do want to thank Donna as well for making these shirts, Donna and Kristen. But the cool aspect that I think everyone should see
Oh, yeah.
on the back here.
Got the barcode, subscribe here. I think the day we wore those, when the first day we were here, we went back down to check in with the hotel clerk about something, maybe an extra key, or we got here early, that's what it was.
It was another room that was
Another
going to
room.
be ready for us.
And they made mention of the shirt. Before you know it, they scanned it and they subscribed. So you didn't even have the shirt on 10 minutes and we'd already picked up a subscriber. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to brand your own company. And I know a lot of us get caught up in the vanity and you want to wear your Lululemon or your Louis Vuitton or all this other stuff. Like, if you have a business, you should be wearing your business stuff and invest in marketing. You're a billboard. Thousands of people are going to be seeing you. And if you're on social media, possibly millions of people are going to be seeing you. So we're heavy advocates. I wear my architectural glass swag almost everywhere. It's only going to better us in the long run. Anything else that you'd like to discuss before we head back to Southwest Florida? I'm actually anxious to get back to work.
I'm anxious to get back to warmth in work.
Yeah, same.
I know that coming to trade shows such as GlassBuild is vital to your business. Again, we've been to several, and every time we pick something up. And we got some really good things out of this show. Some big things coming, some new products, some opportunities.
Yeah, collaboration.
Speaking engagements, and again, just growing our network too.
Yeah.
People that we've interacted with through social media have now come, and you're putting a face to the name and just strengthening that bond. So don't hesitate. Don't worry about what's going to happen if I leave my business for a couple days. Your business is going to be there, but your business isn't going to grow if you're not finding new product and new relationships.
It takes effort to grow a business. It also takes effort to just maintain the business, and it really doesn't take much effort at all for the business to go backwards if you're not focusing your time in the right spot. You need to make time to go to these type of events. And they're not all the time. You're talking once a year.
Right.
I think there's a smaller one that I might attend so twice a year, but once a year to go and strengthen relationships for someone who can alleviate a supply chain problem for you. Because remember, they say supply chain. Do you have problems with supply chain? No one's ever talked about, they're saying there's outages. They're saying there's shortages. And when you have a really strong relationship, doesn't matter the size of your company, because we're not the biggest. It might look it on social media, but believe me when I tell you, we're not the biggest company. But we never had a supply chain issue. And I would argue, primarily it's because we come to events like this and we meet with these people and we don't just go in and shake hands and take a picture. We're having meaningful dialogue and building rapport and friendships. And that goes a long way, because let's say in your area you have a sales rep that handles 100 people. 100 businesses like yours. Maybe only 5 of them go to the National Glass Show. So now you have an opportunity to build and strengthen a relationship with your sales rep that's stronger than all those other 100 people. So when push comes to shove and there's a problem or there's a shortage and you have a real strong relationship, who do you think that person's going to take care of first? Because if any sales rep has the ability to say no to you, they also have the ability to say yes to you. What will trigger that is your relationship.
Yeah,
and what better way to do that than travel to go support their business at the year's National Glass Show?
And we experienced that this year even. After Hurricane Ian made it through and there was a shortage of some laminated glass interlayers, and we were fortunate enough to get them because of our relationships.
Yeah, and it's not because the volume that we're buying or the size of our company, believe me. But we have really strong relationships with these people, and we were able to kind of circumvent the line.
Yeah.
So that's strong. We're huge advocates of supporting whatever industry it is that you're in and getting out there and getting involved and put yourself out there on social media too, for sure.
I think there's one more thing I did learn here.
Tell me.
When you're going somewhere and the climate's a little bit different, bring some chapstick. Because our lips are dry. And we're gonna need that next year. Next year we're gonna be in Dallas, Texas, where it's nice dry heat. Oh, look at you.
You want some?
No, I'm good.
My lips were so chapped yesterday, it looked like I had lipstick on.
Well, that was lipstick.
It's because I was going so fast on the scooter, beating your ass. All right, well, I think we're going to call it a day. I got to piss. These energy drinks are like fucking piss magnets.
I hope the seat's warm.
Okay. Thanks again, and we'll see everybody back in Southwest Florida.